On March 19, 2020, All Stars introduced a new event, School Star Big Life, which brought along new objectives through its awards and hence a new way of playing. Today's video will guide you through everything about the event and tips and tricks on how to play this event. Oh, by the way, I know the event is called School Star Big Life, but Super Big Life sounds better to me. So as long as you're watching my channel, School Star Big Life will have the nickname Super Big Life. Let's start with the basics of this event. SBL starts a day after the end of the last event, and it will only last for about 4 days. Unlike normal events where you play using your LP, you don't use LP when playing an SBL. However, there's a limited amount of tries you can do per day. There will be 3 songs assigned every SBL, and you can only play each song 3 times per day, meaning you can only play the event 9 times per day, and you have to wait for the next day before you can play another 9 times. There's no way to refresh your plays other than wait for the next day, and since events don't start and end exactly at midnight Japan time, but your plays will be refreshed at midnight Japan time, that means on the first day of the event, you have less hours before midnight Japan time arrives, and on the final day, you also have less hours to use all your plays before the event ends. Next is the gameplay of the event. The songs in the event will be directly copied from the original song. There's nothing about the song that will change. The event page will not show you the appeal chances of the song, so you have to read that in the original song itself. The difficulty of the song will be determined by how much life power you have. If your life power is too low, the system will assign you to play in a lower difficulty. That means lower note count and getting lower voltage, less SP activation and skill activation, and you don't want that. Try and raise your life power as much as you can. You can see the difficulty that you are assigned to when you enter a room right here. SBL involves a room of 20 players. Every room has its own room goals where every player will cooperate to achieve it. At the end of the life, rewards will be given based on how well the room performs. There are 2 basic rewards. One is blue present and the other is red present. Blue presents are given based on how many musical notes the room have. The higher the total voltage of the room, the higher the number of musical notes. The base amount of blue presents you get is 15, and for every musical note the room achieves, the room gets 1 additional blue present. The 3 room goals will determine how many red presents you get. If you complete the goal, you get 2 red presents. If not, you only get 1 red present. Simple as that. Each of the presents gives a little amount of SBL medal. This is the element of cooperation in the event. Besides total voltage and room goals, awards will be given to players who perform well. In the rulebook, it shows more than 3 types of awards, but right now there are only 3 awards. They are Voltage, SP, and Skill Activation Award. These awards will reward you 1,500 SBL medals. A Best Performance Award will also be given to the player who performs the best in all 3 categories. This award will give you twice the amount of medals, 3,000 medals. By simply getting one of the awards, you will get more medals than completing all room goals and reaching 5 musical notes combined. Competing for awards gives more medals than cooperating. This event is more about placing at the top than working together to achieve a goal. When playing an event song, special notes will appear. This is only available in an SBL and it will be highlighted with a bunch of triangles around the note. There are 4 types of notes. First is no voltage note that gives you voltage equal to appeal of the member who presents her appeal for that note. The second one is shield that grants 10% of stamina of the member who presented that note. The third one is a big one. It gives SP gauge based on 50% technique of the member that presented that note. And the final one is skill activation up. This one grants 100% skill activation rate for all members for 3 notes. There's also a very rare note which gives a treasure. This is basically giving an extra life reward. The voltage and shield nodes are pretty much useless, and this is not the place you want to farm for materials and accessories, so you don't want treasure node either. In fact, you don't need any shielding at all in this event because you cannot fail alive in this event. No matter how much damage you take, you can continue playing the song until you clear it. But you will get 90% less voltage, so keep that in mind. The good ones are SP node and skill node. The SP node will always guarantee to fully charge your SP gauge and allow you to activate SP 1 extra time. This node is a better way of getting voltage than the voltage node itself, and it contributes to SP award. The skill node contributes to skill activation award. But these nodes appear randomly, thus you can rely on them to get awards. You need to build a team targeting each award, but it is very hard to consistently get 2 awards at once, let alone Best Performance Award. However, you can consistently get one of the awards if you build a team specifically targeting that award. The trick is to target one award and don't do too bad on the other 2 awards and hope that you get Best Performance. I'll start with targeting Voltage Award first. Voltage Award might be the hardest for players to get because you can easily be outmatched by those with Max Limit Break members. This is not the award you want to aim for if you are not absolutely confident. If you are one of the players who have Max Limit Break members, this is the best award to aim for because the percentage of players who can reach this high are very few. So once you reach this point, you can pretty much get Voltage Award in almost every match you play. It is more consistent than aiming for SP or Skill Activation Awards because majority players are going to aim for those. Building a team for Voltage Award is exactly the same as building normally. Aim to get as much appeal as you can. Follow my team building guide video for more information, link in the description. Another benefit of aiming for Voltage Award is there is a ranking independent of awards and room goals. A daily ranking is available in this event. It is based on the total best voltage you get from 3 songs of the event. There is also a total ranking, which is the total voltage you get from all daily rankings. You will get medals based on daily and total ranking, so if you are aiming for Voltage Award, you are also getting your daily and total ranking high. That's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Also, in every SBL, certain members will get a stat boost during the event. They will perform better than usual, so make sure to account for this bonus when building your team for Voltage. However, if you are not at the top of the pyramid, you are going to aim for SP and Skill Activation Award. These 2 awards are relatively easy to get than Voltage Award, due to how high you can get your SP and Skill Activation based on how you build your team even without Max Limit Break members. Before I get into team building, there are 3 things I should stress. First, no need to use a healer. I mentioned that even if your stamina reaches 0, you will not fail alive in this event. You don't need to worry about your stamina. Second, be careful of using overly weak members. You don't want your life power to be too low, or else you will be assigned to a lower difficulty. That means having less nodes, hence less SP and Skill Activation. Third, you should make sure you can at least clear every appeal chance, because if you don't, you can't benefit from the effect of bracelets, and that is 1 less SP activated. We'll start with Skill Activation Award first. You will need to get every amount of Skill Activation boost you can. This includes Skill Type Merit, Keychain, and even Inside Skills. I talk about how to get Skill Activation Inside Skills in my Inside Skill video. Make sure to go check it out, link in the description. The skill of the members plays a huge role. You are going to use members who can increase skill activation rate. These members tend to be skill type, so they benefit from skill type merit. This is an example team of what I think is the best team for Skill Activation Award. I'll break it down into different components so you can understand. Currently, the strongest member for this category is Best Devil Rocker Yoshiko. She is so strong that she is a component of the team just by herself. She provides 30% skill activation to the same strategy for the next 2 nodes at Max Limit Break. Why is she the best? Because other skill activation up members tend to increase skill activation rate for way less percentage but for more nodes. The thing is, skill activation is absolute. It either activates or it doesn't. Other skill activation cards give too little percentage boost, so there's a high chance that it doesn't even allow you to activate your skill 1 extra time because the percentage boost is too low. Best Yoshiko gives 30% boost for 2 nodes, which is high enough that it will always guarantee 1 extra skill activation, if not 2. Best Yoshiko is a more reliable source of skill activation than any other card in this game. Hence, she's the best. The second component of the team is these 2 members. This component is more flexible as there are more members in the game that can fit in this component. Members in this component have 1 common active. The active increases skill activation rate of all members by 10% for the next 10 nodes upon switching strategy. Right now, there are 2 UR members who have this active, Best Marine Yo and Happy Parade Hanayo. A few reasons why this skill is so powerful. First, we compare it with normal skill activation up skills. The active skill gives a higher percentage boost and it lasts for more nodes. The active itself is better in every way possible, but note that this active will only trigger when you switch strategy. But this isn't much of a problem either. Skill activation rate up members tend to be skill type, and their strategy switch effect decreases the number of nodes you need to tap before you can switch strategy again by 2 nodes. Normally you need 5 nodes to switch strategy again, but with that effect, you only need 3. A skill has a 33% chance of activating when the appeal of the member is presented. Since one strategy has 3 members in it, you need another 3 nodes before the member can present her appeal again and activate her skill again. That's exactly the same number of nodes you need to switch strategy again through skill type strategy switch effect. In other words, this active can activate as often as normal skills if you utilize skill type strategy switch effect. Most skill activation up members are skill type, so you can easily achieve this build. The only downside of this active is it has a 30% chance of activating instead of 33%. But that's only a 3% loss and it's almost not noticeable. It's still better to use this active for its way better skill effect. Since this is an active, not a skill, it will activate regardless of the strategy you put the member in. So you can even put the member in a strategy you are not using. Also, since active only has 1 level, you don't need to upgrade it. You can use this active at its full potential once you get the member who has it, even at Limit Break 0. The rest of the team are filled with typical skill rate up members, which is the final component of the team. You will be using 2 strategies in this team. Use Keychain on Fast Yoshiko strategy and use Bracelet to max out your SP gauge so that you don't perform too badly in SP category. All members in the 2 strategies you are using must be skill type and they must have skills that increase skill activation. Fast Yo and Parade Hanayo should be in a strategy you are not using because they are voltage type. The way to play this team is to constantly switch between the 2 skill type strategies and proc Fast Yo and Parade Hanayo as active. If you are using Fast Yoshiko, you should put Fast Yoshiko as the first member of the strategy. When you switch to another strategy, the first member of that strategy will always have her appeal presented first. Since her skill increases skill activation of same strategy only for the next 2 nodes, if you put her as the second member, by the time Yoshiko activates her skill and you present the member of the third member, you can already switch strategy again as 3 nodes have passed. But since her skill only affects the same strategy, if you switch strategy now, you will only utilize her skill effect for 1 node only since it doesn't affect the other strategy. Or if you wait and tap 1 more node before you switch strategy again, that means you delay switching strategy by 1 node. To fully utilize Yoshiko's skill effect and not delay switching strategy, you should place your Fast Yoshiko as the first member of the strategy. That's the 3 components of the best skill activation team. The strongest component is Fast Yoshiko, followed by the skill activation active and typical skill activation up members. Think of it as collecting parts to assemble a big structure. By collecting each component, the team becomes stronger at skill activation. Once you assemble all 3 components, you are basically invincible in that award. That's all for skill activation. Next is SP award. Like skill activation award, I'm also going to give you a sample team and separate it into components. Here's your sample team, and here's the components. There's 1 extra component for SP team than skill activation team. The first component, and the strongest component, is Fast Emma. Fast Emma is just like Fast Yoshiko except for SP. She's the strongest card for SP award. She is a typical SP gauge filler, but her active is what makes her so strong. Her active has a 40% chance to give you 600 SP gauge when you switch strategy. 600 SP is 10% of the SP gauge. Every SP gauge filler in the game only gives a maximum of 9% of the gauge. So Emma's active gives 1% extra SP. Another skill, SP gauge gain increase, is even worse. One example of a member with this skill is from Yukata Umi, which increases by 6.2%. 1 node gives you 200 SP. 6.2% of 200 SP is 12.4. Multiply it by 10 nodes, you only get 124 SP compared to Emma's active that gives 600. SP gauge gain increase is also weaker than SP filler because 9% of 6000 equals to 540. Never ever use SP gauge gain members for SP gain unless you have no other members. Besides, Fast Emma also has a better activation chance of 40% compared to a normal skill activation rate of 33%. Fast Emma is better at every way possible. But the only problem is, it only activates when you switch strategy. But that also means you get to use the same tactic as skill activation. You need to use skill type members to switch strategy faster so you can activate Emma's active more often. This means your SP gauge filler needs to be skill type, not SP type. And this brings me to the second component of the team, skill type SP fillers. Getting 6 skill type SP fillers is a very hard task as most SP gauge fillers are SP type. But let me tell you, it is worth the hassle once you dominate SP award. Once you get a skill type SP filler, you should immediately put her into the team. Skill type members are also a better SP filler than SP type members. You may argue that SP type has a 5% SP merit, which means you can charge your SP gauge even faster, but SP type has negative 5% skill demerit, which causes you to activate your skill less. Less skill activation means less SP fill. Skill type members have BO demerit instead, and it doesn't cause any loss of SP gauge fill. They also have 5% skill merit, which causes them to activate more often. More skill activation means more SP fill. Activating skill more often also contributes to skill activation award as a bonus, and that's killing 2 birds in 1 stone. Next component is Fast Yo and Parade Hanayo. Their active increases skill activation rate by 8% for 10 nodes when you switch strategy. Since you are already switching strategy to benefit from Emma's active, Yo and Hanayo's active can also be used. They indirectly increases your SP gain by increasing your skill activation rate. The final component is Fast Yoshiko. You can always put her in one of the strategy because she causes your SP fillers to activate more often, and that contributes to SP too. She also assists in skill activation award since she is the best skill activation member in the entire game, so why not? The accessories you are going to use are bracelets and keychains. Other accessories besides bracelet that increases SP are not as good as using keychain to increase skill activation. And that's all for the ideal SP team. Let's revise them one more time. Skill activation, there are 3 components: Fast Yoshiko, members with the skill activation active, and normal skill rate up members. You play this team by switching between two strategies. As for the SP team, there are more components. The first one is Fast MR with the active that gives 600 SP when you switch strategy. Then you have members with skill activation active, similar to skill activation team. The next component is skill type SP fillers. And finally, Fast Yoshiko. Before ending this video, I still like to stress the 3 things again when playing this event. First, no need to use healer. Second, be careful of using overly weak members. You don't want your life power to be too low, or else you will be assigned to a lower difficulty, and that means having less nodes, hence less SP and less skill activation. You should make sure you can at least clear every appeal chance, because if you don't, you can't benefit from the effect of Bracelets, and that is one less SP activated. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. You can support me in the link in the description below, and I will personalize your team for you if you do. If this video helps, do like, subscribe, ring the bell, support me, follow my Twitter and Reddit accounts, and stay tuned for more All Stars content.